So this isn't the first of the hostilities in Mexico, but this certainly won't be the last. This isn't the first time a cartel leader was killed, but the reaction is always the same. I remember when El Chapo was arrested, and then subsequently, so was his son. That right there set off a firestorm that lasted for months, where they were literally attacking civilians, police. It was literally a war. But this seems like it's going to be a little bit more widespread. And I don't think they care as much about the tourist money being lost as they do the drug money being lost. I think that they're going to make a decision, and I think the decision is going to be to basically declare war against the Americans. Apparently, the Americans assisted the Mexican military with this operation. However, the president of Mexico protects the cartels. Why would she allow this or sign off on it? So I don't know. Maybe there's already a coup going on in Mexico where the Mexican Marines and the Mexican militaries going rogue from the Mexican government, and they're actually taking orders from the United States because they know that not soon before long, the United States is going to make a move in Mexico and they're going to triumph. Now, just so that everybody's aware of how this is going to go, when we do make a move on Mexico, we're going to have to remove the entire administration. The entire Zionist Scheinbaum administration is going to have to be removed from top to bottom. So it seems like what we're doing right now in the U.S. is this is going to be a regime change operation. So what we're doing now is we're deciding who's going to take their places. Maybe the military is already letting us know that which officials are more empathetic to the United States and our cause and who are willing to go against the cartels. And maybe this is where the new leadership is going, because Scheinbaum was 100% against making a move against the cartels. And this was not just any cartel. This is the New Generation Cartel, which is the new Jalisco generation. This is a very large cartel that operates on two different coasts in the country. People don't realize how large Mexico is. Mexico's roughly the size of the United States. This cartel is like someone who's operating in New England, plus they have operations in the Pacific Southwest. So they cover a lot of land. I know people that have plans to go to spring break in Mexico still. And, they keep saying to me, oh, Rico, this is only in certain parts of Mexico. It's not going to be where we're going. You have no idea where the cartels are at. Sure, El Mencho was killed in one part of Mexico, but that's not his territory. His territory is in the north also. So if there's going to be retaliation against the United States, guess who they're going to go after? Look, I'm a firm believer that that a hard head will make a soft ass. You don't have to tell me twice. I understand how things go. But let's go ahead and look at the story about El Mencho and how we got to this situation.
El Mencho, the boss of one of Mexico's most dangerous and feared cartels and the country's most wanted man, has been killed in a military operation. But who was he? El Mencho's real name is Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes. The 59-year-old was born in the western state of Michoacan, but moved to the US in the 1980s as an undocumented immigrant. In California, he was arrested at various times over drugs and was sentenced to several years in prison before being deported back to Mexico. He briefly had a job as a police officer before joining the Milenio cartel and rising in the ranks and gaining a reputation as a cruel and calculating boss. When that cartel broke apart, the Jalisco New Generation Cartel sprang up in its place, with El Mencho at the top. The gang traffics huge quantities of drugs, including cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl into the US, and makes billions from it. It has expanded across Mexico, uses extreme violence, and once downed an army helicopter with a rocket-propelled grenade. The US State Department had offered a $15 million reward for information leading to El Mencho's capture, and although he's now dead, there are inevitably lieutenants on hand to replace him. El Mencho, the boss of one of Mexico's most dangerous...
Now, from what I'm hearing, the Mexican cartels are not necessarily worried about the amount of tourism that are going to be affected by this war. I think that they know they're at the end of the rope and that the Americans are coming in regardless. I don't think they're even considering the fact that their tourism industry is going to be decimated throughout Mexico if we find out that any American or any foreign tourists have been killed in these strikes. As of right now, they keep telling us that only military people have died. But I'm having a hard time believing that because this has been so widespread. If you look at this map right here, right?
U.S. citizens are urged to shelter in place in parts of Mexico's Jalisco. Really hope civilians stay safe. This comes after the Mexican military killed a cartel member, a top cartel member. And now you have all of these areas in Mexico. I mean, this is almost the entire country of Mexico. From Guatemala all the way up to Monterrey, Durango, Sinaloa, even over here off of the coast. This,
again, the violence is widespread. I actually saw some of this footage yesterday. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but let's take a look.
No, ma'am. ¿Están bien?
You would think a bomb was going off. You would think a bomb was going off or some kind of nuclear strike, but you're wrong. Members of the cartel randomly showed up to public spaces to retaliate and just started shooting into crowds and at the police. They started shooting at the airport. They have not released the names of any foreigners or especially Americans that have died. What that tells me is that Americans have died, but they don't want to tell you that because then, well, now there's going to be a push for the Americans to go in swiftly. The problem is this: we can't be two places at once. We just committed to following the Zionists on the other part of the world and engaging in a battle with Iran. People don't understand the Mexico cartel is not, the cartels in Mexico is not Venezuela. It's a much bigger country and there's a lot more people that are heavily armed. Not saying we can't handle the task, but the problem is we are going to need reinforcements. Also, they are going to send people across the border who are going to do guerrilla style attacks here in the US. So for every strike we're going to do in Mexico, someone's going to probably pull up and shoot up a school bus or a grocery store or just go into a mall and just start firing. We don't have the security apparatus here in the United States the way people think we do. Because of liberal policies in most states, a lot of Americans are defenseless. They're afraid. And they lean so heavily on the police as if they're superheroes. Unless you're in Florida or Texas, people don't have the mindset that they need to be their own first line of defense. We are going to be spread out if the Mexican guerrilla tactics of attacking Americans is actually implemented. And I think it might be. Again, they're already making plans on invading, and the entire Latin world seeing what we did in Venezuela. They heard about the exotic weapons that make you throw up and shit on yourself until you die. They all seen the pictures of when they returned the Cuban soldiers in little boxes, but they weren't cremated. It's as if these people were turned to dust or they were melted with some kind of weapon and they were just basically scooped into a box. The cartels are not going to go out without a fight. They're billionaires. They're trillionaires. And also the demand on our side of the border is greater than their demand for tourists on their side of the border. I don't care what anyone says. The drugs are still going to flow into the United States because the people here in the United States want them. But as far as tourists going to Mexico, that's an optional thing. Right now, when you see footage like this at airports, There's no way you can feel comfortable, even a year from now, putting your kids on a flight and flying into Jalisco or Guadalajara or Puerto Vallarta or even Cancun. There are strikes happening in Cancun right now. Check this, you know what the crazy part is? I have reservations. I paid for a deposit. I'm supposed to be in Mexico from the 9th of March through the 18th. I'm going to have to forfeit my entire deposit. I'm not going. My friends are still going, but I'm the only one that speaks Spanish. They should follow my lead, but they're grown. I'm not going to talk to them. I'm not going to talk them out of this. They don't even know I have a channel. I'm not going to sit there and tell them, oh, this is why you should. Look, you're an adult. C'est la vie. Go vaya con Dios. If you want to go with God. Good luck. I'm going to stay here in the United States, and I'm just going to watch footage of the cartels putting belt to ass. The thing is this. We're already in the Persian Gulf. We're already planning on a major strike and possibly ground invasion of Iran. We're not going to be able to do both at the same time. We don't even have enough troops for that. We don't have it. We have air superiority. We have water superiority. We don't have ground superiority, not in this case. We don't have enough people. So what's more important, fighting in Iran or fighting in Mexico? In my opinion, Iran's a very long way away, and we have no business getting into it with them. Let Israel handle their own situation. Fuck the Zionists and their cause. Let them handle their own situation. That's not our business. Mexico is on our border. I'm an hour and a half away from the Mexican border right now making this video. That's our immediate backyard. We have to get that situation under control. One kingpin should not cause all these problems. The issue is the Americans have already said we're coming in the next few weeks and all your kingpins are gone. What if they're all going to come together and just to make sure America doesn't come in, they're not going to let any American tourists leave because right now all the airports are closed. You can't really get out of Mexico. Let's take a listen to this other person who's talking about it.
Here, Mexico is done. In my opinion, Mexico is done. Why? Because if anybody decides to travel to Mexico after what occurred today, you got to be out of your fucking mind. In my opinion, the tourism in Mexico is completely shot right now. It is very, very evident that the government of Mexico is completely lost control and is completely incompetent. They are not able to handle what is currently going on in the streets of pretty much all over the country of Mexico. I mean, if any.
I'm sorry. Somebody in the chat said, which liberal policies have stopped you from owning a gun? Only criminals and mentally disabled people are not allowed to get guns. That is not true. In California, where I'm from, we can't own guns. That's not even a thing. And you can't get caught with one, and you cannot use one in self-defense. We don't even have self-defense laws in my home state, which is why I relocated to Texas. A lot of the United States, you have a right to retreat. That means if someone breaks into your home and is raping your wife, it's your duty to run out of the back fucking door. Don't touch the criminal. Don't attack the rapist. Don't even use harsh language or you'll be arrested as well. Now, once you're arrested and you're sitting in jail for a couple of years and you go to trial, a jury might exonerate you if they are a conservative pro-America jury. But if they are a communist jury that is anti-American, they hate guns, they don't believe in the Second Amendment, they'll fry you. Even in a state like Texas, there was a case during the BLM where a BLM rioter with a big gun walked up to a guy's car and aimed at him. The guy in the car, because he was, he pulled out a gun, shot him and killed him. But because he was white and he was the one that killed the person who was trying to shoot him, they arrested him and they convicted him. It took Greg Abbott to get that eviction overturned. In Texas, right now, they're trying to confiscate guns in Minnesota. What do you mean? All the anti-gun policies are liberal. They're all against the Constitution. They're all anti-Second Amendment. There are no pro-American liberal policies. So either you live in a bizarro world or you just don't understand the country you live in and you have this slop in your mind. But I'll help. I'm happy to help clear that up for you. But let's go back to this Mexico situation.
Anybody decides to vacation at one of these resorts in Cancun or Puerto Vallarta, listen, you guys are out of your fucking mind. You're out of your mind because it is completely done. Shit has gotten from bad. We consider one of the most fucking fire. Gas stations are on fire. I mean, they're having shootouts in the middle of the fucking streets, right? Between cartel members and the Mexican military. They just killed 2 National Guardsmen and injured another one in an ambush. I mean, they're not fucking around. They're not fucking around. It got bad. As far as Guadalajara Airport goes, I talked about this. Passengers are stranded. Flights are suspended indefinitely. No flights in and out of Guadalajara Airport. So guess what? If you want to leave the country for your safety, you're fucking stuck. You can't go anywhere. I mean, these videos are out of control. And just when you think shit can't get worse, you know what I mean? More information comes out. In regard to the country of Mexico, schools are closed nationwide as of tomorrow. The entire statewide system is shut down. All public events.
Now, listen, the equivalent of shutting down every school in an entire country is the equivalent of when they put the United States into lockdown. Do you know how many safeguards and how many overrides it takes to shut down an entire school system? It's you got to think about it. It's a system. It's like an engine. You can't just stop it on the dime, just hit the brakes instantly. You would have to gradually slow down. If they're abruptly ending schools in Mexico, that means they know that this is the beginning of something that was not like any of the other operations or any of the other, any of the other battles that they've had in Mexico ever. This is something completely different. Because if this was isolated to just certain parts of Mexico, they wouldn't shut down schools in a country, all over the country, in a place the size of the United States. Because what's going on in Florida wouldn't affect people that are living in Oregon, unless it does, unless there's something else that's coming. I guess they do believe that Trump and the Americans are going to send in the military and the strikes are going to begin. If the Mexican cartels cannot adequately fight the American military or the Mexican military, if they're paired up with us, the only option they have is to go after the civilians, specifically American tourists, until we say uncle or until we say, okay, let's call a truce. Because, okay, how much does Trump have the stomach to watch Americans being slaughtered or gutted or whatever they're going to do to get us to withdraw our troops? It just depends. We've never done this close to American territory. Sure, we've had American contractors and soldiers get kidnapped in Afghanistan and Iran, and people got beheaded in Iraq. And we've seen that, but it was very far away and it was limited to soldiers. But when you see that there are whole families with children who are stuck in these resorts, and it's tens of thousands of people that are in Mexico, there are actually a lot of Americans have repatriated to live down there because the cost of living is so much more affordable that they don't come back to the States. But you have an American accent, you're white, everyone knows you're American. It's not going to be safe to go anywhere. So this is going to be a really tough situation. And I knew it was going to get hairy when they said we were going to go after the cartels. It's really no clean way to do it. And also the cartels are going to play dirty. They are not the official government. They control the government, but they're not the government. Means they don't have any, rules of war that they have to follow or any treaties they have to obey. they can just slaughter people until the Mexican government forces the Americans to withdraw, or they're going to force the Mexican government to attack the Americans to defend the cartels. They're going to have to choose one. But again, if we are going to if we're going to be going after the cartels, we're going to have to replace the entire regime, the entire administration in Mexico, the entire Sheinbaum regime is going to have to be replaced before we can successfully operate in Mexico, because she's already coming out to defend the cartels. She says no matter how many drugs they sell, how many people they kill, if you go after the cartels, it's a human rights violation. So that means she's trying to appeal to the World Economic Forum. She's trying to appeal to the UN to protect the drug dealers and the human traffickers. And I don't think we care. I don't think we're trying to hear it. We have hundreds of thousands of Americans that have died from fentanyl poisoning that didn't have to die. How many more can we afford to lose? This is also a campaign promise, and he's known for keeping those. We have to do something. But that's why I'm saying this is the beginning. I don't think we're going to be able to attack Iran. I think we spent a lot of money on fuel getting over there to the Persian Gulf. I wouldn't be surprised if tomorrow we're making a reverse about face and we're bringing back the troops that we sent over there to attack Iran, and we're calling them back over here to the States, and we start building up on our southern border. I wouldn't be surprised. That's what makes the most sense. Which one is more important, Iran or Mexico? We cannot do both at the same time. We can't. It's too risky. We need to focus on just one. And I've never seen us go after two targets at the same time. I've never seen us do that before successfully. Iraq was one place. Afghanistan was one place. We weren't doing both at once. So hopefully we just focus on Mexico if we're going to go this route.
Events are canceled indefinitely until further notice, and that is throughout the country of Mexico, not just in Jalisco and in Puerto Vallarta, throughout the country. We all know that the National Guard is actively engaged in shootouts throughout the streets of Puerto Vallarta and Jalisco with these out-of-control cartel members, right? And the U.S. Embassy, listen, they have a shelter-in-place order throughout Puerto Vallarta, Guadalajara, Nuevo Leon, and Guerrero, pretty much in major cities throughout Mexico, right? Shelter in place. Do not fucking move, okay, until we tell you to move. In Canada, out of all people, right? Guess what they did? They're mimicking, right? Exactly what the United States are doing.
Hey, Gustavo, you're absolutely correct. A lot of they're finding out a lot of the guns that we sent to the Ukraine magically made their way into the hands of the cartels all over Mexico. All the advanced weaponry that we sent to the Ukraine to fight the Russians under Biden somehow made it to the cartels in Mexico on our southern border. See, it's like in a way, it's like the military industrial complex. They want to keep creating enemies around the world for us to have to fight, so we keep having to come to them. It's like its own living entity, but it has to make its own source of food. It has to create conflict. Sending weapons to our enemies of the South that are in the cartels, it just makes sense if you're trying to keep a demand for weaponry. There's never going to be a time that I can see in this foreseeable future where we're not going to need weapons. I mean, we're humans. This is kind of what we do. Every story I've ever read since the beginning of recorded history were basically just stories of men with swords fighting each other, bravely fighting dragons, and everything they're doing in the medieval times. And now, thousands of years later, we haven't really changed very much. It seems like humans can only operate in a certain. It seems like we can only operate in a certain way anyway. We really can't do anything else. But yeah, that's crazy. We created our own advanced enemies, and we don't know. We really don't know the capabilities of the cartel. We've heard of the cartels fighting each other. We've never actually seen them fight in a real military. So I guess this is going to be a learning lesson for both sides.
Identical warrants. Both countries are pulling flights. No more flights in and out of Mexico to and from Canada.
Absolutely. Newsom was there to protect pedophiles. I don't know if you just seen the most recent thing he did, but he's freeing a pedophile, and he actually created new laws to protect them. There's a bill, Senate Bill 145, that basically decriminalized pedophilia, sodomy with kids, where, you know, the real punishment is not when they go to prison. The punishment is when they have to register on a sex offenders list. Newsom, they filed policies that said basically if the person says that they're gay, they don't have to register. So Newsom is our enemy. Newsom says he wants to see more gay kids. He wants to see more trans kids. I've never heard anybody say something so psychotic out loud. Everyone knows those kids are damaged. Those kids are hurt. Those kids have mental illness. They've been abused. And he wants to see more of it, but not from his kids. He wants it to be your kids. And he's over California, so a lot of the kids that are there are black and brown. But remember, that's the depopulation agenda as well. Gay people don't have kids. Trans people don't have kids. So if he's pushing for black and brown people to self-sterilize by becoming trans or never to have kids because they're gay, well, then that's just as good as giving them the vaccine. They're never going to reproduce. There's not going to be any more. There's where I'm from in Los Angeles, there are hospitals that are shutting down their maternity wards because there's no children being born. It's already happening. This is already happening. Look it up. You can look it up right now. There are hospitals that are closing down their whole wings. But a lot of this is all controlled by Gavin Newsom, the World Economic Forum, Agenda 2030, the depopulation agenda. And Newsom, why do you think he allows the California skies to be seeded where it's been cloudy and dark for the last 3 years? That also helps whatever was in that vaccine kill you because you're in the dark. That's why they banned incandescent light bulbs and they made it so that you only could buy LED. Trump just recently reversed it, but look at the damage it's done. Why do you think you see all the death as all these, your favorite celebrities? They're all in California. It's not spread out all over the country. It's isolated in California. California was the testing ground because Newsom is on board. Luckily, they just couldn't get the rest of the governors on board. They got the West Coast for the most part, but the rest of the country is rejecting it. Thank God for Trump.
Now, again, shit is getting worse and worse and worse. Now, I want to talk about the governor, right? Pablo Limas. Now, this governor here, listen, they've got Black Hawk helicopters hovering around these fucking cities. They have now mobilized. The Mexican military has now mobilized heavy equipment. Okay, they dispersed them out the streets of Mexico, in these cities to handle the cartel members. It's fucking urban warfare. They're just fucking shooting like the Wild Wild West. I mean, you can't make this shit up. But Governor Pablo Limas, he has confirmed that the military surge, quote unquote, is part of a statewide code red emergency designed to prevent the cartel from following through on its threats as far as entering hotels and homes, right? And of urban warfare, because they know that these fucking guys mean business. I mean,
that's the thing. Once that starts, and if it did start, we're not going to hear about it for a while because no one's going to want everyone to panic. Also, there's nothing we can do about it right now. We're too spread out. We have dedicated too many troops to this Iran bullshit, and now it's going to take us a week to get back here from the Persian Gulf. Whatever soldiers we have in the United States, it's not going to be enough to go fly. Let's see here. To get to that part of Mexico, we're a 3 to 4 hour flight from Camp Pendleton, even from Texas. So logistically, it's not going to be as easy. The battle's not going to be in Tijuana or Rosarito. The battle's going to be 3 to 4 hours deep into Mexico. We know what the cartels are, but we're going to have to dedicate ground forces, not only air forces. And right now, we're in Iran right now. So we're dragging this out. So if they start announcing that American tourists are being slaughtered in the hotels, they're going to be pressuring Trump. Like, what are you going to do? You got to send people. But don't forget, Bibi Netanyahu, they want us to go invade Iran. See, this is the problem when you're listening to foreigners tell you where to put your military. We should only be on our borders. We should not be in the Middle East. That's none of our business. Iran is not threatening our sovereignty. They're not threatening our borders. So why are we going over there? We actually have threats in a fight right here. Now, it seems like the Mexican cartels, have a weak head start on us. And I'm noticing that if you look around at these different airports, they've shut down the airspace. They're not letting people get out of the country. They want those American hostages. They need the tourists. And I think that that's going to be a strong bargaining chip for the cartels. As long as they have hundreds or even 1,000 American tourists, the military in the United States is less likely to attack them because they know the cartel will literally behead everyone and hang their bodies from underneath overpasses. They do it to their own people for fun. Now, I said I wasn't going back to Mexico after those two Colombian artists, Regio Clown and the other artists, when they were killed in Mexico City. Nobody knows why. They were there to do a show. They were killed. And nobody, there was no ransom or anything. Ever since then, I was like, you know what? I don't even want to go to Mexico anymore. I was going to go for a wedding for 2 days and I'm not even going. I don't even want to go now. It's too risky. It's too risky. And then like I said, they're shutting down the schools. So that means they're anticipating that this is not going to end anytime soon. I'm going to tell people, don't go down there for spring break, but no one's going to listen. They're still going to go down there. But there's a normalcy bias in the mind of people that have been going down there for 20, 30 years peacefully. They don't understand that things are going to change this year.
Listen, I don't know how else to fucking say it. I mean, shit is mad. They have issued chilling warnings. And listen, in my opinion, they're going to carry through on these warnings all over a man who pretty much just what he did as far as bringing the dope into the United States and the rest of the world. Okay. And everything that's going on because of that, it blows my mind. And we have people here in the United States that are advocating for this country, a government who's turned their back on the Mexican people in favor of these cartel members. And we've got people on the streets of the United States that are saying we are stolen. It just fucking blows my mind. Okay.
And he's absolutely correct. There are people that are waving Mexico flags right now in California, here in Arizona. Sometimes you see it in Texas. And if you ask these people, they'll tell you, I'd rather America be ran by the Mexican drug cartels than be ran by Donald Trump. What that means is that ideologically, we no longer can coexist together in the same space. We just can't. Just because they have citizenship and because they were born here, it doesn't mean they are Americans. They're not the type of Americans that we are. They just happen to have citizenship or they just happen to be born here, but their loyalty is with their home country. That's why the whole birthright citizenship thing and the whole anchor babies, all of that has to be banned. It has to be done away with immediately. And the people that are waving those flags, they have the chance to go back down to Mexico and to help the cartels fight us, but instead they'll rather be agitators against us here in the United States. And they use our own constitutional protections against us so that they can they can agitate and threaten us with impunity. They're literally on this side of the border working on behalf of the cartels against us, against our government and against our people. But they haven't started their attacks yet. Our military is not going to be spread. Our military is going to be spread thin. Our law enforcement has pretty much been cucked. Now if you arrest somebody, unless you arrest somebody who's white, every and anything you say or do is considered racist. So a lot of police are scared to even do their jobs. This situation with the cartels, if it spills over across the border, there's not much we're going to be able to do except just be victims for a while. And then if you can't profile people because they look Mexican, what if they're about to commit an attack? This is going to be big. These cartels are not going to go down without a fight. This is one of the biggest businesses in the world that we're talking about disrupting. The drug flow into the United States from Mexico. That's one of the largest industries in the world. It's bigger than Apple, Microsoft, Google, OpenAI. It's bigger than everything. The demand is higher than ever. People are more depressed than ever. And now we're going to go to war with the cartels that are supplying the people here. There's no easy way out of this.
The hypocrisy and the stupidity of some people living in our country. Anyway, shit is getting from bad to worse in Mexico. It's getting dark out there. Listen, nothing happens at night. We all know that. And we'll see what happens. But I got a pretty good feeling that tomorrow morning, what I'm telling you right now, listen, it's going to get worse. Let me know your thoughts and opinions. Please like, follow, and share. Be blessed.
And that's the thing. He's not the only person making these predictions. This is happening right now.
Extremely important. Just today, breaking news, the head of the military and the head of the Department of Defense in Mexico just made out a statement and an interview said that this was a clear collaboration with the United States of America in regards to the United States providing the intelligence to do the execution by the federal government of Nemesio Oseguera El Mencho. The violence right now, it was increasing last night. It's here in the city of Tijuana that is connected to San Diego. There was a still burning of vehicles continuously in several areas, but until now, schools have been off limits. Now they closed the schools, they closed the educational systems of elementary, junior high schools, and colleges. Businesses are closed for security reasons of the citizens. There has been multiple threats on social media groups by, these, particularly pages that they are in cahoots with the organized crime, telling the population that they're going to start shooting civilians after 10 o'clock at night. They say still walking. It is a huge national security threat. I did a video on a report on a vehicle that it was burned just steps away from the border wall. This tells you the level of audacity of the cartel, and they burned that vehicle in front of a post on the territory, in the American territory. This post that it has a huge camera from the U.S. Customs that basically tells you that they did it on purpose, just to tell the American government, we know that you provided the information for our leader to be executed. So at this moment, the federal government has released statements that they will provide the security that it needs to be provided for tourists and also deployment of more military to the whole country of Mexico. It's extremely important. Just today.
And this is important because right now the cartels have to make an example. If they do not go extreme, see, the normal way to do it is attack other Mexican people because no one on this side of the border is going to care. But when you harm one hair on one American tourist, well, now you have an international incident. If they are serious, they're going to have to show that they mean business and that they're not afraid and that, there are no consequences for them and that we're the only ones taking a risk. They have to go after the Americans that are on their side of the border. I'd be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not already going to different resorts and rounding up anyone who they can find that is American. I wouldn't be shocked. They're going to have to do something major, or they're going to just have to wait for us to go in there and just eradicate them. And I don't think they're too heavily armed and too well organized for that to happen. And don't forget, there are Mexican government officials that live in the United States, where there's like 50 something Mexican elected officials that literally live in the US. They're the ones who are paying for the protests against ICE. They're the ones who are paying for the agitators. What do you think they're going to be organizing on this side of the border? That's the problem with having an open society sometime. You'll allow people in that hate you, that are literally working against you and your country, but because they have the right to free speech, they're allowed to. Certain things we can't allow. We can't just let everyone do any and everything they want to us. These are real, actual threats that are happening right now. Right now. Let me see here. There was another video I wanted to play for you guys also. So this is his son. So this is the man that was killed, El Mencho. This is his son. So remember, they got when they captured the other kingpin from a couple years ago, El Chapo. Remember, they also took his son as well. This is a direct disrespect to the cartels. Apparently, El Mencho was a really, really big deal. He made a lot of people a lot of money. The only way this would have been sanctioned by the government is if other cartels sold him out. But if they didn't, and if this is an attack on one, this is an attack on all, well, then that's what we got to worry about. But there's no clear declaration. The way the president of Mexico is speaking right now, she's protecting them. So this wasn't a one-off that was sanctioned by her. This means that there are elements in the Mexican government that have went rogue against her. So we don't even know how many military she even has on her side still, but there are military that are actively working with the United States, and they coordinated an execution of Mencho. They didn't even want to just arrest him like they did Maduro. That's what I mean. Something's different this time. These are not the same old situations we're used to. We have to treat this differently. If you're an American in Mexico, even if you live there, evacuate. I don't think anyone's going to have any mercy on you at the end of the day. They're going to need numbers. They're going to need numbers of dead to show that they mean business, and they got to show they're going to make good on their threats. They can't show weakness. I mean, this is just like any other gang war and anywhere else you go in the world. The rules are the same. There's no different rules of engagement when it comes to this type of terrorism. There's nothing. It's all pretty much going to be the same. So let's see here.
Canadians in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, are being ordered to shelter in place. This after widespread violence broke out in the city following the Mexican army killing of the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, El Mencho. The military operation took place Sunday morning in the western state of Jalisco. It followed several hours of roadblocks set up with burning vehicles in Jalisco and other states.
No, somebody said Trump destroyed our reputation. I beg to differ. Just because I'm not sure where you live, but I live in Europe, I live in South America, and I live here in the United States right now. Where I live at in Europe, he's revered by all. They love seeing a strong man because in Europe, everything's been feminized. Just like in Canada, everything's gay, rainbows everywhere. To be a man or even like women, it's called toxic masculinity. They push the gay, the weak, timid agenda on everyone. So when they see a strong man with a wife that looks good and kids, they're like, wow, I haven't seen a straight man in years. It's not a real common thing anymore. So no, our reputation is at its peak around the world. People love Trump everywhere. The only people that don't like him are just like the same way here in the United States. It's only two groups, the gays and the blacks. And the gays control blacks. So blacks have no idea why they don't like Trump. They can't even articulate it to him. But yet they like Newsom. But then again, Newsom said he can't read. Trump obviously can read. So they like people that can't read because Newsom said, well, you guys can't read. I can't read. And they're like, so they love it. But yeah, blacks and gays are the only people that don't like Trump. Everyone else around the world loves Trump. And we're not really trying to appeal to Africa or to the African Americans or whatever. So no one really cares. The only people you got to really worry about, it will be the gay population, since they're the ones who are really good at manipulating the society, or turning people, using shame to manipulate people and to change things. But going forward, people are ignoring the gays. No one really cares what gays and blacks say anymore. I'm about to do a short video on the BAFTA thing yesterday. So what? Somebody with Tourette's yelled out the N-word. Who cares? Let them cry. They cry about everything. They call everything racist. Do you know one of them the other day said air is racist because the air in the hood is different than air outside? No one cares anymore. No one cares. And no one cares that you're gay anymore. It doesn't mean anything. The fact that you're trying to dress up as a woman and go date a kid, that's why we don't like you. So both of those groups are pretty much obsolete at a certain point. But besides those two groups, everyone around the world loves Trump. Everybody.
Tactics are commonly used by cartels to block military operations. The U.S. State Department.
There is no help for Mexico. Mexico's going to have to help itself. It's a big country with a lot of people, but they let the cartels control them. And everyone's just basically at the mercy of the cartels. The cartels, you're going to have to respect them because they are the ones in charge. There is no Central American the Mexican government that's a higher authority. Remember, before Sheinbaum was elected president, there were 34 assassinations of all the other people trying to become president. Why'd they allow her to live? They were all assassinated by the cartels in that one election. 33 or 34 different people. but they allowed her to win. Obviously, she knows who butters her bread and who she has to work for. Also, she's Jewish, so she works with the Zionists anyway. That's why I said we were going to do the bidding of the Zionists in Iran, but now we have to deal with these other Zionists in Mexico. So I don't know. I see a connection there, and I don't think we're going to be able to hit Iran. That's because Iran's not going to be an easy win. That's going to take a lot of concentration, manpower, and American soldiers are going to pass away fighting Iran for no reason. But I would prefer we just focus on our own border. And if we're going to deal with the cartels in Mexico, we go that way. If we're going to have to do it. Right now, I mean, but was killing this kingpin, was that necessary? If we're not even in position to go after the rest of the cartels, I don't know. We didn't start a ground invasion of Mexico, so what was the purpose of even assassinating him right now? But then again, I'm not involved in the planning, so I don't know. It's just that for me, it just doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense.
And previously offered a reward of up to $15 million for information leading to the arrest of El Mencho. Canadians in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico are being...
So yeah, even the Canadians who are visiting Mexico, they're all up for grabs. Now, this is a video. These are not Mexican military or Mexican soldier. These are the cartels. And this is their body armor. This is the kind of equipment they have. They have advanced night vision. They have advanced weapons. A lot of the guns, again, that we sold to the Ukrainians ended up in Mexico. So it's like we're fighting Cobra. This is not going to be an easy win. They have no problem using human shields. They have no problem, going into public areas and shooting their own people. They don't have a soul. They don't care. And but we have rules of engagement here in the United States. And you have Democrats and people on the left that are going to be watching every move we make, threatening to impeach Trump, threatening to arrest soldiers because we're fighting drug dealers. It just shows you that there are a lot of people in this country, even if they have citizenship and they were born here, they're not Americans. They're on the side of our enemies. But it doesn't matter what enemy. Name a country. These people would rather any country invade the United States and take over as long as they get Trump out of office. They don't care. So that's why you can't really humor them. We have to stay the course and just ignore them. But once we are victorious, we're going to have to come back and deal with these people afterwards. We're not going to be able to just coexist forever.
I don't know if you can see that, but I can see the flames underneath that black smoke. Major flames there, huge flames everywhere. Another big one over there. Another one directly.
And these are tourists. These are tourists at a resort in between two battles, and they're just hanging out on the beach like it's no big deal.
Hopefully we're able to get out tomorrow, but the airport is shut down as it is right now. And as I understand it, military may be getting involved soon. Power may be cut very soon. So,
like he said, they could hit the power tomorrow. Tomorrow the power will be cut, but guess who will still have power? The cartels. And everybody else will be in the dark. You won't have cell phones. And when they start knocking on the door of these hotel rooms, there's nowhere for you to run. Most of the American tourists don't speak Spanish. And we stick out like sore thumbs in Mexico. You're not going to be able to go anywhere. You're just going to have to go be a hostage. And who knows how long they're going to keep you. But then again, this happened out of the blue. There was no warning. I could see if the State Department had issued a warning saying, hey, if you're an American or you're a Canadian and you're in Mexico right now, we suggest you leave and, for XYZ reason. This was abrupt. You execute a kingpin right before spring break and you're not expecting to have hostages. Like, who planned this out? This if you weren't going to go all in all at once, it didn't make any sense to even start it at all. We should have just left this alone until we were better prepared. Tens of thousands of American tourists in Mexico today. That means we were not prepared. We could have did this during an off season. This is spring break. This is when the weather is beautiful down there. This is when everybody wants to go. And they're hitting Cancun right now. Actually, let me see if we can bring up some of that footage. Let's see here. Let's see here.
There's two other trucks on fire down here. I think you can kind of see them. Here in front of the marina. I got stuck right there before they lit the truck on fire. Are the fire trucks like?
They're blocking the roads. They're blocking the roads out. One side of the street is open on the freeway. The other side is blocked. So you can come into the city. You cannot get out. Why do you think that is? I actually found some other footage where they were digging up the road. They were digging. They had equipment, heavy equipment, and they were digging the roads up where you couldn't pass. Unless you're going to build a bridge, you're not going to be able to leave these areas. But also, if you're military ground forces, if you guys are like, driving in a truck or something, you're not going to be able to get into these areas either. And this is their terrain. They know the lay of the land. The Americans, we do not. We don't live here. So we're going to be at a disadvantage. Again, us being too spread out is not good for this because now the cartels have time to prepare and we don't. This is bad.
It's a beautiful day in Puerto Vallarta.
Fires going on over there on that side. The biggest part of the chaos seems right there.
There's
Yeah, this is
They killed the most wanted person in Mexico. You don't get it. If you're unaware of who that is, his name is Nemesio Oseguera Cervantes, okay, aka El Mencho, the powerful and long-pursued head of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel and one of the world's most wanted traffickers. Died falling a Mexican. I want to point this part out. Military operation on Sunday handed the country a consequential victory as it looks to show tangible results to the Trump administration. Violence erupted in several states in Mexico after security forces from multiple federal branches of Mexico's military carried out the operation in the town of Papalpa in the western state of Jalisco. Officials said suspected members of organized crime unleashed a wave of violence following the operation, torching buses and businesses while clashing with security forces. Reasons of why this is so insane is because not only did Oseguera have a bounty of up to $15 million placed on him by U.S. authorities themselves, also because the U.S. had some involvement. As you can see, Mexico's Secretary of National Defense said that the U.S. authorities provided complimentary information that supported the operation. A U.S. defense official confirmed that an interagency U.S. task force played a role in the operation. However,
yeah, but none of that was sanctioned by the Mexican president. So they went behind her back with this operation. That means that there are elements in her government that are splintered. So you have the Mexican government protecting the cartels against the Mexican military that is fighting the cartels with the Americans. What is that going to mean? That means eventually the American military and American government's going to have to directly fight the Mexican government and the cartels because you can't fight one without the other. And you can't leave one in place with the other one being removed. They're both going to have to go. This is going to be messy. This looks like AI or a video game, like, playing Call of Duty or something. But this is not. This is a city where people live. With children and families, they go to work. The streets are empty in the middle of the daytime because there's a literal war going on. And because it's not a population that is extremely aggressive or heavily armed, you're just kind of waiting to become a victim. You're waiting for somebody to roll the dice and decide if they're going to hit your building or another building. I can't live like that, personally. And yes, there are people in the cartel that are trained by Mossad and the Israeli military. I mean, they pay people for trainers. You have people that retire from military in other countries and they become contractors, and you would literally pay them to come to your country to train your forces. The cartels are just like any other military force in another part of the world. They're the ones in charge. And yeah, you can hire ex-Marines. You can hire ex-U.S. military. You can hire ex-Mossad, ex-IDF, and they bring them to Mexico and they train them. And when they see how much money and equipment the Mexican cartels have, they have no idea. They have no choice but to respect them. And they do their job. They're being paid handsomely. We live in a world where everyone needs money. And once you're retired, money starts getting thin. If your government doesn't appreciate your expertise, someone else will. That's why I said this is not going to be an easy fight. We can't fight Iran and fight the Mexican cartels. It's not going to happen. So since Mexico's on our doorstep and they have American hostages right now, even if it's not officially announced, we're going to have to bring back everybody out of the Persian Gulf. It's going to have to come back to the U.S. and we're going to have to get on the Mexican border. It turns out Trump was right after all. Trump was right the entire time. Yeah, right now, this is smoke in a city in another country. But remember, we used to only see these from cities that are thousands of miles away. It's getting closer. See, this city right here is only maybe about 300 miles away from where you're sitting right now, having your dinner, 400 miles away. This is what it looks like. And one day you might get on YouTube and I might be doing a video like this about the city you live in. It might be Los Angeles that the cartels are attacking, or someone else. It might be St. Louis. It might be Chicago. Anywhere in the United States can become a war zone because the world has gotten a lot smaller, and we allowed, it could be 10, it could be 20 million strangers who didn't have to go through customs to walk across our border into the interior of our country. We have no idea where they're at. We don't know who they are. They dump their IDs out at the border, and we don't know why they're here. We don't even know how they afford to get here. How did so many people get here from China? I thought they were poor. How did all these people get here from India and from the Middle East? How could they afford all these flights from their country to Chile, and then another flight to Brazil, and then to a trip from South America all the way up through Central America to our border? That costs a lot of money. It's not free. Plane flights aren't free. Food isn't free. So people were sent here with the motive, and we don't know what it is. And again, it used to be thousands of miles away. Now it's only hundreds of miles away. Soon you might be seeing videos like this from 5 to 10 miles away from where you are currently. And they're going to tell you to shelter in place. I don't know what it's going to look like once it gets over here, but eventually it's going to come. And are you prepared? Are you armed? Do you have extra food? Do you have extra water? If the electricity goes out, wherever you live, there is no water. Do you know that? Your toilets won't even flush because there's no water. There's no water treatment. That whole system goes down if the electricity goes down. And our grid is very fragile. Yes, we're going to be hitting the Mexicans and the cartels, but how many Mexican cartel members are here in the United States already, have been here? You have Mexican government officials that are elected officials in Mexico, but they plant them here in the United States. And we have no idea what they're doing, who they're organizing, what they're saying. We're worried about Iran, but we're not watching these other people right here in our own country, in our back door, on our back doorstep. So you got to start preparing for what's going to happen when it's in your city. And there's nowhere you can run. They're everywhere. That's the whole part of integration. Everyone's all intertwined and mixed in. You don't know who to look out for now. That's one of the failures of that whole system. Nah, you got to vote MAGA. If you're not America, make America great again. If you're not America first and America only at this point, well, then you might as well just pack up and move to whatever country you want to put first. There's a lot of people that wave Mexican flags, but they're not heading down to Mexico to fight Trump. They're not heading down there to help the cartels, but it's because they want to fight Trump with the cartels on this side of the border. Why do you think they have allegiance to Mexico Why did they love Mexico so much? The people we're going to be fighting, they're your neighbors. They're already here, and they'll never consider themselves Americans, even when if they were born here. They'll never be Americans. They don't like us. There was a whole agenda where they have textbooks now that talk about how all this was stolen from Mexico, and they're going to want to take it back. And they're giving these textbooks out to kids in California, Arizona. They have this whole thing. It's this whole thing that's happening under our noses, and we have no idea this is going on. But they're indoctrinating our kids. So your kids will want to fight on behalf of Mexico against you. That's how strong the indoctrination is right now. And you don't really know that this is happening, but it is. I don't know who Alabama John is. I have no clue. But if he sends me a link, or sends me an email, I'll come over there. I'm on Rumble right now, live. Yeah, all this is happening right now.
Son momentos bastante complicados. Los grupos de la delincuencia organizada acaban de entrar al aeropuerto y estamos prácticamente corriendo desde tirar al suelo.
Yeah, like I said, it looks far away today, but it won't be far away for long. It won't be far away forever. I wanted you to see this where they were digging up the roads. Let me see if I still have that footage. I know they flag a lot of my videos, especially on TikTok. They are not fans of anything news that is like, that might be remotely political. Unless it's something funny or you doing some dances, they don't want to see it at all. But let's see. Yeah, they
Canadians in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, are being ordered to shelter in place. This after widespread violence broke out in the city following the Mexican army killing of the leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, El Mencho.
So what is going to come down to for the Mexican people? What's more important? The cartel's drug money or the money you make off of tourism every year? You're going to have to pick one. If it's tourism, you're going to have to help the Americans fight against the cartels. If it's drug money's your priority, you're going to have to help the cartels fight against the Americans. And that means you're going to have to start attacking and, deleting your own tourists, your own customers. It's up to you. I don't know what they're going to choose. I don't know which one's more important. Who are they more afraid of, the Americans or the cartels? I guess we will have to find out. Like and subscribe, share the video. I'll be back on with another topic in about 20 minutes. Remember, America first and America only.
I've been needing to find a new apartment, which has not been easy with credit as bad as mine. Luckily, I found cosigning.com. They connected me with a cosigner who helped me get my dream apartment for me and my dog. I just paid a small fee and was able to move in fast. Get the cosigner you need for the apartment you want. Check out cosigning.com today.